Om to all of the Knights of Banjo Hollow. Thank you for reading our materials and continuing to encourage yourself on the route of celibacy, purity, and the imminent joy and just all the blessings you get from the path of chastity. So, we got a question here about Sanskrit. We often have to use Sanskrit to read our Krishna books, to read a lot of our religious material. And my recommended path to start to use that is the materials from Prabhupada and Karunamayi have the correct transliteration. So that's number one. Whatever you want to read, you need to have serious transliteration, because there are 56 letters in the Sanskrit Hindi alphabet in Devanagari. And so if you're going to use the Latin alphabet to express that, you will need long and short lines. You'll need the 3 different kinds of S, 3 different kinds of N. You need to see all that and pronounce all that correctly as you can. I'm a bit disappointed because it's not a beautiful language, I'll be honest. It doesn't sound all that good when you pronounce it. It sounds like, modern day Hindi, which is sort of, the gubber, would you like some bread? Would you like some, you want some veg? So, God bless them. They have a wonderful sense of aesthetics in the music and clothes, and but the language itself is not what I consider the most beautiful language. Not to digress too much, the real question is Sanskrit a hoax? Because I love hoaxes. I've been studying hoaxes and Maya, which we learn, through these religious texts. So that is part of this Maya having Sanskrit as a language. Well, let me give you some background. I learned Sanskrit for 3 years. I have the big Wells Moniker dictionary, and I can read Devanagari. I memorized a lot of vocabulary, got a lot of stuff ready, and the first obstacle was that each word that you learn has a lot of different meanings, and then a lot of those meanings have no relation to the other. The second obstacle was the grammar is just insane. And then the third part, this also goes under grammar, but they have a way, like in French, where there's a grammar on how you connect the sounds of the words. So when you make a sentence, you pronounce it differently. So it's funny, after 3 years of hard work, and I'm a pretty good studier, I think. I learned Chinese in 9 months. To read, write, and speak Chinese, I did that in 9 months. And I became a translator of Chinese 9 months after that. So I can study. I'm a disciplined man. But Sanskrit got me down. And let me name a fourth difficulty, is there is no community around Sanskrit. So you go online and you're looking for some, free Sanskrit courses and some nice people that will walk you through some basic phrases and things. You find there's basically nothing. There's maybe 1 or 2 things. And then you talk to some people to get some real help, like, how would I say this phrase, or how do I connect this together? And the guy treats you like like a bureaucrat. He thinks, he's like, get off my blog, you jerk. I don't want to talk to you. And what would make you think that you're learning Sanskrit for free? Well, I thought it's a religious language. And there's a lot of us out there trying to learn it, and we want to make a community around it, and we have more of a buddy system rather than, rather than some commercial thing going. But I could see why the guy's pissed, because he would have endless work to do. You can't answer the question, how do you say, I love cows? I challenge anybody watching this video. Tell me how to say, I love cows in Sanskrit. The word for cow is dhenu, well, okay, so what case is it in? And then the verb goes with it, and then I, and then what case is I in? And then how does the verb, what's that form? And then if you finally get these three things all together, then you have to put the sounds together. And then if you get it together and you finally think you know how to say I love cows, there ain't nobody that's going to talk to you. And there's no community around it. So really your most practical way to learn the Sanskrit in these texts, number one is read the pronunciation guides given by ISKCON and Karunamayi. They're very good guides. And learn how to pronounce those words. They'll give rough translations or translations, and just kind of soak that in a little bit, that this is generally what these words mean, and maybe a couple of them will begin to become familiar. I think for most of us that means Bob's your uncle. On the other hand, if you want to go deeper into it, I would say the next step would be to learn modern Hindi. Modern Hindi uses Devanagari, and I think modern Hindi is something like, how Italian relates to Latin. So Italian is a Latin language, and everybody knows how to pronounce Italian, and it's standardized on many levels, and you have a big, wonderful community of people that you should just be dying to make friends with, and you should be just itching to get your backpack and go wandering through Italy, and I highly recommend that. And the same relation between Hindi and Sanskrit, I think. So if you learn your Hindi, you're basically learning a modern version of a dead language that was maybe a hoax. Now, I'm probably going to talk too long here, but how would Sanskrit be a hoax? You're telling me, you must be kidding me. Do you think everything's fake? I think, you know what? Maybe I am going a bit nuts, but I think Sanskrit was probably fake. It was at the very base, Sanskrit was a hodgepodge of so many languages that's where you get this problem. Like you look up Krishna, and there's 5 colors out of the rainbow. There's different chemicals, 3 different types of metal. It means the highest good. It also means the worst bad. If you don't believe me, go check your Sanskrit dictionary. And that's for this one word. Now, the only reason I won't say I'm sure it's a hoax is because we've got this language, English, now. And the reason why I'm not making a lot of English videos nowadays is because English is crap. Now, maybe Sanskrit was the same thing. Maybe Sanskrit was, as far as languages go, just a big heap of crap. And crap comes from corruption. It's a social corruption cycle where the intelligentsia goes and lobbies the government, and they impose laws through the public school system, and they force children to learn unnatural things. I really hate it when French say to us Esperanto people that Esperanto is not natural. Esperanto is natural, French is freaking unnatural. And they force that down these kids' throats. 500 different declensions and forms for a single noun. You've got to be kidding me. You think a kid is naturally going to learn that? and nobody's naturally going to learn Sanskrit, and so I would say Sanskrit was at least a very corrupt language, meaning that there must have been a very powerful caste and society of scribes that dominated the written language, so that there's no way that a farmer or a regular guy, a laborer, some honest man is going to be able to write a letter. That's a miracle about Esperanto. You've got, I made a friend in Hainan, China, with a cowboy from Portugal. He's a cowboy, that's all he does. And I think those people are way more honest. They make an honest living, and I would like to get to know them, and I think they represent their country's culture a lot better than these scribes. Now, I say scribes was also a word in our Bible for Pharisee, which is a word of those Jews, meaning the black Jews, the Ethiopian-like Jews of the tribes of Canaan and the Edomites. So I'm probably going around in way too many circles. I have not planned this video at all. I'm just talking to one of my subscribers saying he wants an English version of this Sanskrit hoax video. The next step into understanding why maybe Sanskrit was a hoax was the Mother Sanskrit theory started with the so-called British occupation of India, and that occupation was really run by David Sassoon. And David Sassoon was a Jewish monopoly. He was the monopoly owner of the world's opium, and he moved from Iraq into Bombay, India, and he ran the opium empire from India. And this should be a big shame for India. You go there and all the colleges are like, Sassoon College, Sassoon Library. Come on, Indians, have some self-respect. Get rid of the drugs and change the names on those buildings and things, because it wasn't a British problem. But anyway, the people cooperating with the invaders were these fake Brahmins. I don't think they're real Brahmins at all, because they seemed to be pretty mentally inept and seriously weird people, according to what visitors at the time said, and they completely can't live on their own or take care of themselves. I mean, it's kind of like saying some autistic guy is a god. Is weird. No way. I think the Brahmins were fake Brahmins, and then they bought into and propagandized this Mother Sanskrit theory, which had just started. Now they say Devanagari is the script of the gods, and they say, oh, you should Devanagari, and they don't tell you Devanagari is at least post-Arabic. Now that is a pretty modern script. So every time you see an old script, say we want to see the original Bhagavad Gita in Sanskrit, that's actually written in some other script. So the idea that this text is in Sanskrit, to me, it's in question. Can we say it's just an old version of what some modern people are pronouncing and using as Hindi now? That would be a more realistic understanding. So, very good. I've been talking for way too long, but keep studying hard. Find the groups of people that are cool, that like to share things, that especially let you live at their pad, and they can come live at your pad, and you share your stories. You wander to different places. You explore your own heritage. You explore the good ideas, the good things from other cultures. You can use a lot of ways to do this. And a language just isn't a language. A language has a group of people that you're interested in, and it will give you the fire, the passion to learn that language. For example, like how I've learned Italian over the last year and a half. And so you have to consider all these things before you really decide you'll sit down and learn that language, I think, if you're not going to be wasting your time. So my voice is going out. It's very late at night, but thank you, brothers, and Om.